I gave Walt 3 suggestions on his chipping, and as a result, his touch and feel improved, and later that month, he shot his age. This is what we talked about. The first thing was club selection. Anytime we're hitting a chip shot, we always want to start with asking ourselves this question: how far do we want the ball to fly, and how far do we want the ball to roll? One of the things that Walt was doing, and you may be doing, is he was chipping with a club with very little loft. So if I'm hitting a chip shot, as an example, I got my main man Nick behind the camera here. Nick, give him the thumbs up. All right, Nick gave us a thumbs up. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. But I'm hitting a chip shot here. If I'm going to the furthest hole, the one with the flag on it, obviously I want to land the ball on the green a little bit, and I want it to roll. So I could use a less lofted club like a 48 degree or a pitching wedge, something like that. But on the flip side, if I was going to like the hole that's nice and close right here, I need a club that's got a lot of loft on it, because when I land that ball on the green, I don't want it to roll a long way. So the rule of thumb, or the general guideline that you can use, is ask yourself the question: how far do I want the ball to fly compared to how far do I want it to roll? If those two distances are about the same, go with a very lofted club like a 56, a 58, or a 60 degree. If, however, you want the ball to roll much further than you want it to fly, then go with a less lofted club like a pitching wedge or a 48 degree, something like that. First thing that Walt learned was he was using a club with too little loft to hit a short little shot. Now, the second thing that we talked about, and this kind of ties into the third thing that we'll get to in just a second, and that was length of swing. One of the biggest mistakes that amateur golfers make in chipping is their backswing is too short relative to their forward swing. So it looks something like this. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it here. So the backswing Walt was making was very short, and then the forward swing was very long and aggressive to get the golf ball to go the distance that he wanted it to go. So it looked like this. It was short and then long. When you do that, when you give yourselves a very short backswing, you've got to really accelerate the club to get the ball to the speed it needs to be for the ball to travel the distance that you want it to travel. Now, the purpose of the backswing, whether it be a chip shot, a putt, a full swing, we talk about this in the vertical line swing and in the book, The Bad Lie, the purpose of the backswing is to create the energy needed so the club can naturally, the key word being naturally, accelerate into the golf ball so that it travels the distance that you want it to go. So the second thing that Walt and I talked about, and I told him to do, was I said, Walt, just lengthen your backswing so the club can naturally accelerate. As a guideline for you, what I want you to feel is if the backswing is 60%, the forward swing is 40. So the backswing is always slightly longer than the forward swing. So it look like this. It's maybe 60 here, 40 there. Let me go ahead and hit a shot. So here we go. I got it set in. I'm going 60, and I'm going 40. Now what you'll notice is that ball came out a lot softer, so it improves my touch and feel, and it's easy to replicate. Nick, did you get that one? That was pretty good, huh? That wasn't too bad, right? Hey, and for those of you who are regular followers of us here at US Golf TV and VLS Golf, tell us where you're from. We love hearing where you're from, all right? It's one of our favorite things to look at, and hopefully you're following us on all our social media accounts and things like that. The last thing that Walt and I talked about, I want you, this is one of these golden nuggets. This is where you get the pencil out and the paper out and you write this one down, because you're probably not going to hear it anywhere else. And that has to do with the butt end of the club. All right, we got the club head, we got the butt end of the club. Great chippers, if they want to improve their touch and feel, when they initially start the swing, the butt end of the club moves away from the target. Let me show you what it looks like. Now, here's what I want you to watch the butt end of the club right here, okay? When they start the swing, the butt end of the club moves away from the target initially. It does not go towards the target. So let me do a bad and then I'll do a good. And I'll give you a little simple drill to tie this together. So here we go. This is the bad. Watch the butt end of the club. It's going to go towards the target. Now what happens is when you do that, when the butt end goes towards the target and the club head goes away, it hinges it or leverages it. So then you have to undo that and pop it at the bottom. On the flip side, this one here, I'm going to take the butt end of the club and I'm going to move it away from the target initially. All right, so it moves away. Now, based on the length of swing, Yeah, you move it away and you might hinge it a little bit. We're not saying you cannot hinge when you chip. What we're saying here, and what I told Walt, which drastically improved his chipping, and he shot his age. I don't know if any of you ever out there have shot your age. If you have, put it in the chat, because that is something that very few people have accomplished. But the butt end of the club can move away, and then it can hinge a little bit. So let me go ahead and hit a shot. Here we go. I'm gonna move the butt end of the club back. I'm gonna have a little longer backswing than a forward swing. Ball comes out nice and soft, is rolling towards the cup, Nick. All right, I'll take that. Those are the 3 things that I gave Walt to improve his chipping. Now that we've improved your chipping, check out my next video. And if you want to work with us on your golf game and our golf team, check out vlscoaching.com.